Big Sills, National Football Show, where the fans make this thing work. You guys blew up yesterday. You blew up. You guys blew up yesterday. Seth came on with us, and you guys blew the show up. WIP used a couple clips from the show. It's all because of you. Just like the radio stations in Philadelphia, it's the fans that drive that market. You guys should take a bow. You guys go like this. Big Sills, you're the... No, it's you. I want you to understand that. You could put anybody in those radio chairs. Anybody. In those radio chairs in Philadelphia, and it won't matter. It does not matter. Eagles have, in my opinion, one of the top three, if not the number one fan base in all the National Football League. They use your passion against you. When they know they want to get a reaction, they go to you. Patriots, Bears, Steelers, Packers, Broncos, Niners. Niners are underrated. You guys did a great job yesterday. Congratulations to you. I got massive respect. And you know what's cool about our relationship? You'll go, Sills, that's so bad a take. That's an L take. But here we are on a Wednesday again. By the way, I just got some news before we move on with the show. Javon Hargrave was going to be targeted as the number one target in Chicago and New England. Chances of re-signing, unless you franchise tag Javon Hargrave, chances of him coming back are going to be remote because he's going to command top dollar. That's 17, 18 million. My friends, I think the top priority on that football team in Philly is CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's the guy, if they use the franchise tag. Now, here, watch this. Who would you use the tag on? GT, what's up, folks? Appreciate it. Who would you use the tag on? Gardner-Johnson or Hargrave? Here's my assessment of both guys. By the way, Frank Reich, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Guys, I got to do it. I'm going to suggest Seth Joyner. We're going to talk about the interview yesterday and the impact that it had. But do we all agree? Hey, man, we got to get Seth some leverage. So I'm going to tell Frank to have a conversation with Seth Joyner on being their linebacker coach at 4 p.m. You know I want him in Philly. I hear now they're interviewing the University of Georgia defensive coordinator to be potentially the coordinator for the Eagles. I don't get that college stuff. I really don't. I don't get it. Now, I'm going to explain to you why maybe that could work. Guys, hey, Tone, do me a favor. Can you post what his name is? Schulman, something like that. I think, if I'm not mistaken. Post his name for me because I think there's a reason for it, and I'll tell you why here in a second. I think it's Gardner-Johnson too. It's Schulman? Okay. I'm going to tell you why here in a second, but I agree with you guys. I think it's Gardner-Johnson is the guy that you target first. Okay? SJ, thank you very much. I think it's Gardner-Johnson too. Greg Schulman, Georgia. Okay. Why do you think the Eagles, Tone, you can jump in on this one too, post something if you feel. Why do you think that the Eagles are looking at some college guys to be the new coordinator for the Eagles? Why do you think they're looking at some college guys? Guy at Michigan, now the guy at Georgia. Love you too, Danny. Appreciate it. Why do you think they're looking at college guys? Why do you think they would go down that avenue? And by the way, I don't think it really has anything to do with knowledge. Yes, men, no, not there with that. Because a lot of teams run college systems. That's not bad. Because he'll listen to Howie? Probably so. Danny, because they know talent. I think Danny's on the right page. Let me ask you something here. How much of a asset do you think a guy like Greg Schumann would be on draft day or putting a draft board together when it comes to knowing all the college talent across the country? I don't really think it's got anything to do with scheme. I think it's what Danny said, because it's got something to do with knowing all the college talent. You know, one of the great assets that Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson had when they came from the college ranks to the NFL, what do you think their knowledge was of all the kids that were going to be drafted that maybe didn't go to Miami or didn't go to Southern Cal? You think they knew all the kids anyway? Because they had recruited them. Because they recruited them. A guy like Greg Schumann, he's no smarter than the next guy. He doesn't have more defensive knowledge than Seth Joyner. But what he does have is he has more understanding and knowledge of the players that they may be targeting in the draft. Does that make sense to you? Greg Schumann is not smarter than Seth Joyner. However, he's got a better knowledge of the kids that are around the country. Maybe a kid that went to Clemson that didn't go to Georgia. He said, man, that kid's a great player. Maybe he's an undersized guy, but he's a good ball player, and he's just not a first rounder. Greg may know that. So again, it's not so much that Greg Schumann knows more than Seth, but he knows more about the kids that Howie's going to target. This is a Howie target. A guy like Greg Schumann has more value to the Eagles than Seth Joyner does, because you know why? He knows the kids around the United States. Seth may know what a football player looks like. There's no getting around that. He may have more knowledge, and I think he does, than the Georgia defensive coordinator, Greg Schumann. However, Seth doesn't know the talent that's around the country. And again, is that a good philosophy to go down? Yeah, when you're being run by a personnel guy. The Eagle organization is being run by a personnel guy. Tone says, based off your premise, is it fair to say Howie's beginning to know his limitations with talent evaluation? Absolutely. I'll say it one more time to you. Since Howie Roseman was put in the broom closet, he's a better general manager. You know why? He listens more. That's why he got the 3-year contract extension. That's why you're seeing people being hired out of the front office. Andy Wall, Andrew Barry, the guy in New York with the Jets. That's why Joe Douglas. That's why you're seeing all that. He's listening more. That's kudos to him. That's kudos to him. Okay? And again, I think it's a pretty smart angle. Because I started thinking, yesterday when we were talking with Seth, I was like, why would he be interested in the Michigan defensive coordinator? Then I started thinking, it's not that he's smarter than Seth Joyner or he knows more defensive schemes. He knows the players around the country because that's his job. His job is to coach on Saturdays, and the rest of the time, like Greg Schumann in Georgia, is recruiting against Alabama and LSU. That's all these guys do. Recruit, coach. Recruit, coach. Recruit, coach, develop. Recruit, coach. Okay? That's why it's not that far-fetched to bring in a college defensive coordinator, as long as he's at a place like Georgia, Michigan, LSU, places that have been dominating, places that have been putting, you know why Greg Schuman's name, why do you think Greg Schuman's name also is on the Eagle general manager's desk? Look at the talent he's been putting in the NFL. Walker, Davis, Dean, this kid Carter. Shit, there's 3 other guys that could get drafted in the first round off that defense alone this year. I mean, Jameson goes, no Big 12 coaches? No, if you want to play defense, that's not where you go. Okay? That's not where you go. Hey, guys, I'm going to get to Seth Joyner here in a second. Okay? I am. I'm going to get to the interview that we had. And by the way, once again, about WIP using some of our clips, which I thought was awesome. Because it behooves me to think that nobody over there asked Seth Joyner, have they come to you and would you be interested in being a coach with the Eagles? It's crazy nobody's asked him. He was on every week with them last year. And nobody asked him. So here's my assessment 24 hours after our interview with him. This is a Howie thing. Okay? The culture's Howie Roseman. For Seth Joyner not to be a linebacker coach or the defensive coordinator of the Eagles or to even get a call, it's a Howie thing. Howie's the culture. It's not Jalen Hurts. It's Howie. They don't like a strong personality coach like that. I'm not saying Nick Sirianni's not a strong personality coach, but I'll tell you the difference between Nick Sirianni and Seth Joyner. Nick plays the game better. And there's a game. You know who prepped him? The guy who's coming on at 4 o'clock. Do you understand your head football coach was recommended by Frank Reich? How do you think he got to Philly? How do you think Nick Sirianni, Jonathan Gannon, and Shane Steichen got to Philly? All you have to do is go back to one of the Frank Reich interviews. My question was this: who contacted you about Nick Sirianni? And you know what he said? The owner. Then the GM called. This was all in the process of moving Wentz to Indianapolis. Frank had a conversation with Nick. He goes, hey, you can't work with Howie? Don't take that job. That's why Doug doesn't have a job. He prepped him. He knew the room. I'm talking Nick Sirianni. Frank loves the Eagle organization. He loves it. He loves that entire dynamic. When he comes on at the top of the next hour, he loves the owner. He actually loves Howie Roseman. But there's a dynamic that you have to have if you work in that building. Could Seth Joyner fall in line with that? I think Seth could for a while. But Seth would be so laser focused. And by the way, let's do this. Would Seth Joyner be a great DC? Yes. Would Seth Joyner be a great linebacker coach? Absolutely. Would Seth get along with the rest of the coaches on Nick Sirianni's staff? Absolutely. Would Seth like somebody dipping their beak in his position room? That I don't know. How many times have you been at work? How many times have you been at work and your boss dips his beak into your cubicle or into your department and you start doing this? Shit. We all do it. Hey, when somebody starts talking about my show, what I should do, what I should not do, what have you, hey, man, we all get a little sensitive to that, especially with a guy like Joyner's had so much success in his career. You know, I'm watching all the comments, I'm listening, and, You know, it's not delusional thinking. But you know what I would do? I would at least call Seth if I was Howie. Have him come in, take him to dinner, man. It's goodwill, too. You never want to have your legendary players pissed off at the place because they're a little nervous about you. Why would you ever be nervous about a guy like Seth Joyner? To me, I gravitate to that kind of stuff. He tells me to sit my ass down. He's not doing it because he hates me. He's doing it because he wants to tell me something and coach me on something. Somebody goes, Sills, what about the players of today? What about the players of today? How come they can't handle that? Because they're not being coached that way. Look at Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan may get that Bronco job. You know why? That Denver organization needs a kick in the pants. They need a kick in the pants. Sit your ass down. Sit down. You can't take it. Get out. You know what kills me too? So we're all worried about the attitudes of the Eagle players on Seth Joyner. Are you under some impression that Nick Saban doesn't coach his young players hard? Or Kirby Smart doesn't coach his players hard at Georgia and Alabama? Am I to believe that the Eagle players have to be spoken to differently than you speak to some of the top kids in the country? Tom Brady embraced. Isn't it funny? All the legendary athletes we know in our life have been coached hard. Brady, Jordan, Montana, all of them have been coached hard. Not unfair, but hard. How come it works for those guys? They're new wave dudes. That notion that the Eagle players have to be dealt with kid gloves, it blows my mind. So you mean to tell me, hey, here's the greatest example. Guys, do me a favor. You think Jalen Hurts was coached hard at Alabama? You think he was coached hard at Bama? I do. This is a Howie thing. Howie doesn't want that attitude in the building. So, can I ask you guys something? Please, help me out on this. So Howie wouldn't hire the best guy available in Seth Joyner, who embraces the Eagle way, loves the fans, is a legendary player, has all this knowledge. You heard it yesterday. And Howie wouldn't hire that guy, or at least talk to that guy, because Howie doesn't want to. So Howie's not doing what's best for the team, is he? Somebody goes, Sills, would you hire a guy you had an adversarial relationship with? I said, if he made my team better, absolutely. If I thought somebody, look, you got to be compatible. And the guy has to know his position. And the guy has to know his role. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to know your role. You're a position coach. I'm the general manager. You have to know your place on the totem pole. But I'm going to hire a guy who maybe, if a guy can make my team better, because here's what has to happen, guys. Because the Eagle defense is not going to look like the Eagle defense of a year ago, do you and I all agree that D coordinator better be special? He can't just be a plug-and-play guy. He's got to be a Spagnuolo. He's got to be a Dan Quinn. He's got to be guys who can make chicken, you know what, into chicken soup. You know what I mean? Because you may be young. You may have different faces. He better be creative. He better be exceptional at his job. Is that fair? He better be exceptional as a coordinator. You just can't have a dude over there now. You got to have somebody who's creative because you're going to have to be creative. Hey, look, the offense is going to be pretty much intact. Okay? It's going to be pretty much intact. At least for this year. The defense is not. McMullen, this is from Tone, mentioned earlier that the Eagles and their PR team don't like feeling forced to make decisions. Somehow we think Seth is his idea. You guys brought that up yesterday. Sills, what you did maybe hurt Seth Joyner's chances on being the defensive coordinator and the linebacker coach for the Eagles because it's your idea. Do you really think that they haven't thought about that, though? How I would say, who cares whose idea it is? They don't like to be forced. Nobody's forcing them. But I mean, how about this? So you wouldn't listen to Seth Joyner? How about this? Even if you didn't hire him, what about some of the ideas he may have? What about when you like to talk to Seth Joyner on how to maybe coach up Nakobe Dean and ask him what kind of coach you think maybe? So you're going to go and potentially get the defensive coordinator at Georgia so that you can get more out of. And by the way, Tracy Rocker also coached for that guy. He also was in that Kirby Smart system. I don't know, man. So did we hurt or help Seth's chances yesterday? Jameson, Sills is not a double agent. He's on our side. Dude, I want you to win. Watch this, Jameson. Why in the world would I ever want to cover a shitty team? Why in the world? Trust me, I've covered them. It's not fun, and no one cares. This is polarizing stuff because the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be, I think, watch this. I think the Eagles in the offseason are going to have more eyeballs on them than they had on during the regular season. What's how we do next? Who's he draft? How much money for Jalen? Who are the coordinators? Are you going to talk to Seth Joyner or Brian Dawkins? Vance Joseph, are you looking at him really? Chris says, Sills, I thought your conversation with Seth was absolutely amazing. Listen to such a brilliant football mind was freaking killer. What Seth Joyner did was, folks, he turned the binoculars around and let you see how he sees the game. From an intense position. And not only did Seth Joyner turn the binoculars around for you, you know what he also did? He showed you what it was like playing behind Reggie White and Jerome Brown. Playing next to Clyde Simmons, Hopkins, and Waters. Having Buddy Ryan in his ass. Making him better. Giving him a test every day. What's this formation? What's that formation? What's the coverage packages that they like to do 3rd and 7? He turned it around for you and gave you a look at how players see the game. Chris, that's spectacular. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pooh, thank you. Paul's like, Sills, your show's getting better daily. Thank you. Because of you guys. I don't know, Bob, you have a problem. Because fundamentally, Howie's not done anything wrong yet. The Eagles are going to go through a facelift and have to retool. They're not rebuilding. Okay? They're retooling. You don't rebuild off of an NFC championship. You know what I mean? That's not rebuilding. I think sometimes people get retooling and rebuilding confused. This is not rebuild. Rebuilding is the Jets. Rebuilding might be the Bears. That's rebuilding. Okay? That's a rebuild. This is retooling. Okay? Reloading, okay? Because you've got the weapon in Hurts. All you're doing is putting new bullets in the chamber. Reloading, okay. Now, let me ask you this about Jalen Hurts. Tone's like, Howie just has to make sure he's not shooting blanks. Hey, sometimes you don't hit the target, man. Marcus goes, Sileo has a show, thought this was somewhere for him to rant and hide from his wife. That's why I'm in the Dan Cave. Is that what you're saying, Marcus? Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Hey, Tone, tell me, what's the story on Tank Dell before I comment on that? I'm going to throw this at you here. Don't forget, Frank Reich, the OC that delivered a Super Bowl championship for you at 4 p.m., the new head football coach of the Carolina Panthers. Hey, by the way, is Deuce Staley there? Okay, is Deuce Staley there? Is he now in Carolina? Sales, Lori, and Howie run the Birds like a corporation, not as a business franchise. They don't want emotion at the boardroom. It's analytics, not passion. I think Nick Sirianni has passion. Again, I think Nick knows how to play the game, though. Deuce is there. Hey, I got to tell you, the reason that Deuce Staley is no longer in Philadelphia is because they don't want that attitude in Philly. I mean, Deuce Staley is not an Eagle coach. Why? Personality. Confronting people. Asking questions. Having a way of doing things. That's not what they want. I'm not saying yes, guys. I'm saying open-minded guys. Tank Dell, wide receiver, University of Houston, 5'10", 165, 2,700 yards, 29 touchdowns in the last 2 years. Funny we should do that because I have replacements for Quez Watkins, and I've written down a bunch of them, and I'm going to hit on those guys, and we're going to do that. But I want to get to a topic here. How much will the new coordinators affect the progression of Jalen Hurts and his development? Both sides of the ball. Who will affect his development more? I don't really think they're going to do anything different. I think Brian Johnson's a slam dunk for that job. I do. I think he's a slam dunk. If not, Nick Sirianni will be the play caller. I don't think anything's really going to change. But if you get a coordinator on defense that can't get stops, that means there's more pressure on the offense to score more points. Going these long, sustained drives. That means Jalen Hurts is going to have to run the ball more. Jameson Sills, don't leave us for ESPN. I do not carry JAKIB, but that's a kind comment. We got a great team here. I love all the different shows. I don't like networks that have the same thing. I like different shows. Okay? Joseph, not happening. What do you want me to do? You think I'm going to go woke and go to ESPN? I doubt it. Plus, they're afraid of me. Like every other media outlet is. They're afraid of me. Hoss, you guys are under some impression. It's funny, Odyssey won't put WIP host on JAKIB Media. Don't. They won't put the host, but they'll use my clips and sound bites. What's that tell you? They love my work. They're afraid of me. Remember that. Everyone loves Big Sills' work. It's me. The mind of a defensive side will affect Hurts' development because Important they test and challenge his ability to read. But here's something else to think about, though, Tone. If you don't get the right coordinator in there and you can't get stops, you get 3 and outs, you're going to look like Chip Kelly's offense. And if they can't keep drives going and you're giving up points, you're going to be playing from behind the entire year. If they don't get the right personnel and the right coordinator in that building for 2023, that will affect Jalen Hurts the same way Carson Wentz was affected. You're going to be repeating history here. You got to get a coordinator on that side that gets stops. I agree with what Seth said yesterday. I don't really know if it's important for them any longer to get stops when it comes to playing the run. I think it's more important about the secondary play. I think it's more important for them. I think they want to be middle of the pack in stopping the run. That's what the Rams have been with Aaron Donald. Tone goes, I like what Dable did with Jones. He would tell the defense the plays is still expect Jones to beat the coverage anyway. Made him figure out options, passes, first and second reads. Absolutely. That's how you develop a quarterback. See, but the RPO system is different than that. Because again, Jalen Hurts is your OC. That's why there's no big rush to get an OC named in Philadelphia. There is kind of a rush to get a DC named. Okay? There is kind of something here to get a defensive coordinator named. Okay? Mr. International, isn't it funny? Carson Wentz went south once Frank left. Huh? Would that be a fair statement? This is why, look at this. Frank left. Frank left the coordinating room, right? Was Wentz ever the same after Frank Reich left? Was Carson different after Frank left? Was he? I think he was. Cody goes, then Sills, why didn't it work for Carson and Frank and Indy? Cody, well, let me ask you this. 3,800 yards passing, 95 quarterback rating, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks, and 67% completion percentage. That didn't work. They did win 9 games. I get the ending. But that didn't work. He theoretically had a better year this year than Jalen Hurts did. You say that didn't work? Okay. How can you say it didn't work? He had a better year than Jalen Hurts did. How about this? He had a better year statistically. Throwing the ball. Let's be fair. Because Jalen's rushing the 700 plus and 13 TDs has to go into the equation. I'm talking throwing the ball. Okay, let's. Jalen Hurts was in. That's not what I said, Kyle. I'm not ripping anybody here. Someone goes, why didn't it work? I was talking about Wentz, really. Okay? That's what I was talking about. I'm not talking about who's better, who's worse. Someone asked me, why didn't it work with Frank and Carson? It did work. They won 9 games. He won as many games as Jalen did his first year starting. Shitty ending with the Raider game and the Jag game. I get that. 27 touchdowns and 7 picks, pretty good ratio. Hey, Danny, I happen to agree now with what Seth Joyner said about Wentz. The whole Nick Foles thing, his take is the Eagles ruined him. His take is the Eagles ruined him with all those quarterback games they were playing behind the scenes. That's his take. I think you got to be stronger than that. Okay? I think you got to be stronger than that. I want to get to some guys that you might be interested in replacing Quez Watkins. I want to look at these guys on Quez. These are going to be the 2023 potential free agents, and I wrote only 5 down. Quez Watkins, do we agree? Albeit they got something out of a kid, I think, who was a 6th rounder. Let's always remember something. Quez Watkins was evaluated coming out of college as a 6th rounder. For him to even get playing time is remarkable. But what happened was folks tried to elevate him into being something that he wasn't. Hey, there's certain guys who could be late round guys like Antonio Brown, guys like that, okay? Guys who were later picks turned out to be superstars. I mean, Devonta Adams wasn't even a first rounder. He was a 2nd. Cooper Kupp wasn't a first rounder. There's guys all over the league that are like that. I mean, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, all these guys. It's time for the Eagles to get at least a decent number 3 in there. So I wrote a couple guys down here. I got their ages, the teams they were on, and the salaries. Let's just throw these guys out here for Howie to look at. Now, by the way, could you go like you guys said with the kid Dell? Put him on a rookie contract, draft a guy. He's not going to go in the first round because you know why? He's 5'10". So he might be a 3rd or 4th round guy, depending on what he does at the combines. Let's take a look at some of these guys. I'll go from 5 up. What about Sammy Watkins? Made $1.8 million, right around what Zach Pascal makes. 29.7 years of age, is in Baltimore. How do you know he's not good? He plays with Lamar Jackson. Would you look at Sammy Watkins? It's not a big number. He's going to be a free agent. There'll be suitors for him. Okay? And I get it. Staying on the field is an issue. But he's going to be the number 3 guy. He's 30 years old. Okay? Again, we're spitballing here. How about Perriman? Played with the Bucks. 29.4 years of age. Made 1.2. Actually, I thought he wasn't that bad with Brady. I thought he wasn't that bad. And again, remember, we're talking about economics, and we're also talking about the 3rd wideout. You see, I don't want Odell Beckham. Too much money, too much risk, and he's not a 1 or 2 anymore. At most, he's a 2. Why would I pay $10 million or $5 million for a guy who's almost a 2.5 in your wide receiving core? Why would you pay that? Because you want to have a lot of Instagram hits? That doesn't make sense to me. Okay? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. Tone goes, I take Robert Woods at wide receiver 3. He's a trusted veteran, sure hands, could be possibly persuaded into a 1-year deal after being cut by the Titans, also blocks well. Do me a favor. Give me what his numbers are, Tone, salary-wise and his age, because that's going to play a factor here. You know, you might want to get my next guy. How about Jarvis Landry? Made $3 million. He's not going to get that on the open market. How about Jarvis Landry at number 3? Put him on a 1-year deal, $1.4 million with incentives. And you tell Jarvis Landry, you stay healthy, you're going to be like the rest. Can I tell you something else, too, that's going to look really great? Guys, look what Howie's created. Look what Howie's created for a guy like Jarvis Landry. I think Jarvis Landry makes a lot of sense. He's 30. However, I still think he's got gas in the tank. I still think he's got gasoline in the tank. As a number 3, Woods is 30. See, a lot of these guys are 30. Look at what Howie Roseman, Paul, he does catch everything. He's got great hands. Look at what Howie's created. Watch this. He goes to all these guys. Say he goes to Jarvis Landry. Jarvis, you see what I did for James Bradbury? You see what I did for CJ? You see what I did for Kaiser White? You see what I did for all these guys on one-year deals? They're all making max money now. That could be you. One more deal. I'll give you a 1-year prove-it deal at $1.5 million. It's the same money you're paying Pascal. And if you hit your incentives, you make $3.5 million. You get this, as a number 3 guy, if Jarvis Landry comes into Philadelphia, catches 50 balls for 700 yards, that guy's going to have a market for him. And the Eagles might even want to re-sign him. They might even want to re-sign him. Jarvis Landry's not a 1 anymore. In the minds of the NFL. Okay? Or, again, you can go in the draft and play the crapshoot. Would you rather have a trusted veteran? Because what is your number 1 objective? The continuing development of Jalen Hurts. Are you developing Jalen Hurts? By the way, I also want to develop Devonta Smith more. Because eventually Devonta Smith is going to take AJ's job and his salary. I want Devonta Smith around for a long time. For a long time. See, Howie has something that Baltimore doesn't. Think of this for a second. When Baltimore and DeCosta call a wide receiver and say, we'd love to have you come and play in Baltimore with Lamar. You know what wide receivers are saying now? They're doing this. Man, what wide receiver has ever really played well? Hollywood Brown couldn't even make it there. What makes you think I'll make it? But now, guess what with Jalen Hurts? He's got 2 1,000-yard receivers. Howie's got a track record of putting people on 1-year deals, and you getting a max deal? C.J. Gardner-Johnson's going to get a max deal. James Bradbury is going to be top-end market. Javon Hargrave is going to get big money. Howie's got a dynamic going now. It's almost like what they had in New England. Hey, you come here, you're going to make money. It may not be here, but you're going to make money in the NFL. I mean, that's fair, right? You're going to make money. Look at all the generational wealth guys. Howie Roseman is going to change their families forever on the 1-year deals that he gave them. I'm giving Howie a lot of love here today, aren't I? Could that be why the Ravens are hesitant to re-sign Lamar? Yeah, because you know why? Let me ask you something. When Jordan was in the NBA, everybody wanted to play with Michael Jordan. How many people have wanted to play with Kobe Bryant? Paul Gasol? Same thing with LeBron James. How many free agents? They had to make a trade for Antonio Davis. That wasn't a guy going, I want to play there. There's certain guys. Seth, I tell you what, man. The guy at Golden State. Everyone wants to play in Golden State. Steph Curry. Certain guys attract guys to want to come and play with. Certain guys don't want. They don't want to share the limelight. They don't like. Kobe couldn't get any. Look at the Lakers in the last 10 years. How many star players have they gotten to come and play outside of the Disney trophy that they won a couple years ago in COVID? The Lakers have stunk the last decade. Okay? I know, Joseph. Hang on here, man. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to give myself a DNA test. Okay, I'm gonna have to give myself a DNA test here. Okay, did I say Antonio Davis? Excuse me, Anthony Davis. Excuse me. hey, Armstrong. Don't mind me, man. The NBA All-Star game. You see what the ratings were? The Pro Bowl touch football game had higher ratings than the NBA All-Star game. So excuse me if, hey Armstrong, excuse me if I didn't get an NBA guy's name right. Dude, touch football game got higher ratings than the NBA All-Star game. All right, I got another guy for you. How about Juju Smith-Schuster? He's 26.2 years of age. Patrick Mahomes saved his career. He made $3.7 million. He ain't making that anywhere else. They saw what that guy was when they made him a number one in Pittsburgh, and everyone knows that Juju Smith-Schuster is Juju Smith-Schuster. He's 26. Would he take a role at being number 3, though? Probably not. Probably not. Okay? Probably not. How about Allen Lazard? 27.2. Played with the Packers. Made 3.9. There's going to be a market for him. Okay? What about Allen Lazard? He's 27. Would you look at him? Or is it Landry? How about this? Jarvis Landry? Sounds the guy to me. He's a pro. He catches everything. Actually, I think he is a hard too. I think his injuries have precluded him from being, you know what I'm saying? What I think he could be. And he's not going to command that kind of money. Got to get, hey, I don't really care about Quez had a couple good moments. Didn't he catch a touchdown pass against Minnesota? To me, though, Quez Watkins, he's a non-factor. He's a non-factor. However, and to me, that 3 guy most likely will be a draft pick. And a late draft pick. Like I'm talking, how high would you go in the draft for a number 3 guy to replace Quez? 4th round? 5th round? Rookie deal? He'd be making less than $1 million? Roughly around 9? It makes more economical sense. You guys like this kid Tank Dell from Houston. Fair enough. To me, he's a dude. And I'm not saying he's bad. And I'm not saying you're wrong. Right now, he's a dude. And to me, the most important thing that Howie Roseman has to do is he has to balance that salary cap. So he's got to be young and cheap at a ton of places. And the number 3 guy on that team is not going to be a veteran. I threw these names out because I think you could probably get something with a Jarvis Landry. Maybe you could talk him into a 1-year deal. $1.5 million. I'm okay paying that. Getting production out of it. If he gives me 50 catches and 700 yards, that's worth $1.5 million to me. But most likely, he's probably not going to give you that. Now, you think a guy like Jarvis Landry, when Dallas Goedert went down, would have been a key factor to having him on the team? Doesn't a number 3 guy like Jarvis Landry protect you from injuries? Say AJ goes down, Devonta goes down, Dallas Goedert goes down. Do you want to really put a rookie? Watch this. You want to put a rookie in there? Don't you think a guy like Landry could have covered for Dallas Goedert's loss? It's economics right now. That position is an economics position. Okay? Hey, somebody brings up the XFL. Marcus does. How about Josh Gordon as your number 3 guy? I don't give a shit about his pot smoking. I don't care about that. I don't care if you smoke weed. If you're not beating kids and you're not raping anyone and you're not robbing people, I don't give a shit if you smoke weed. I could care less. I'm looking to be cheap at that position. He'd be on a league minimum, a deal too, $1 million. You'd be paying him the same as a guy you get in a draft. How about Josh Gordon? Josh Gordon looked pretty good the opening week of the XFL. He's going to dominate that league. I'll tell you what, I saw Josh Gordon play. Hey, Tone, I saw Josh Gordon play. It was the first game, and it was against the Chargers. He was on the Browns, and it was his first game back in like a year and a half. He hadn't played ball. I saw him catch 14 catches for 110 yards, and it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I cannot believe how great that guy is when he's focused. Could Jalen get something out of him? Maybe. Gordon isn't reliable. Jeff, probably true. Okay, probably true. Don't forget, top of the hour, we're going to talk with Frank Reich, our friend, the head football coach of the Carolina Panthers. I've always been a huge fan of Josh Gordon. Has to stay focused. A guy like Jalen Hurts. I don't know, man. You know what? Sometimes when the game is taken away from you, when you find players, that's not taking the game away from people. Okay? That's not taking the game away from folks. Okay? Just looking at it from that perspective, T.Y. Hilton's 33. I looked at him. And if T.Y. comes back, I probably think he's going to stay in Dallas. Okay? You see, again, a guy like Jarvis Landry, though, at your number 3 position is a security blanket in case someone goes down this year. Like Goddard went down. He's a security blanket. And he's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. I don't think. Sills Landry also would be great. Sorry, I missed it. Michael Thomas is going to command a lot of dough, dude. Landry also would be great to work with Smitty. Similar skill set, great hands. Yeah. Jarvis Landry's an LSU guy too, right? I think he's an LSU guy. I don't think he's a Bama dude. I think he's an LSU guy. LSU, man, they produce them wideouts along with Alabama, don't they? Adam Thielen, as a number 3, I think he's going to want to try to land at a place to be a number 2. Okay? I personally think they're going to go into the draft, but again, I threw these names at you because Quez Watkins has to be replaced. How about Antonio Brown? JT, my feeling on Antonio Brown has always been this. I would want the guy on my team. I think they have the locker room to handle him. And if he effed up, you cut him. He's not going to cost you anything financially. I'm okay with that. Again, we're not paying him $35 million. You think Jalen a better passer than Lamar? Probably. Even though Lamar led the NFL in touchdown passes. Jackson, probably a better passer than Lamar. Lamar's a better athlete. Jalen's a better quarterback. But here, Aaron Rodgers is a better athlete than Tom Brady. Brady's a better quarterback. Always remember that dynamic. Okay? You could be the greatest athlete on the planet. Jet George is one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen play quarterback. Had a 2-cent brain. That doesn't make you the quarterback.